I think that's one of the most noble things one can do, is to search for hope and truth. So my name is Karl Johnson. I'm a sophomore here, and I like economics and chemistry. So I was raised in a relatively small town in the Midwest, in Michigan, in a Christian environment, and I can't remember a time I didn't go to church. And for a lot of that time during high school and middle school, I found myself really enjoying a lot of the intellectual side of Christianity and how the Christian worldview but gives light to the world. But that's like really what all my faith was, is just the summation of that knowledge. And in college I was really tested. In the summer after freshman year, I was working in Baltimore in a clinic in East Baltimore, and I was largely by myself. I was living enough off campus to kind of isolate myself socially from when everything else was going on. And the clinic I was working at kind of exposed me to a lot of the physical pains that people have living in disadvantaged communities, and in a lot of ways it thinned the veneer between life and death. Hearing stories of drug addiction, suicidal thoughts, families splitting apart over just heartbreaking things, and I found myself not just then wrestling with my faith intellectually, but personally and physically. It's something I couldn't deny anymore, and I found myself asking, if this faith is true, then what is it saying about this context? What is it saying about the mother who lost her son and is now stuck on heroin? What does Christ mean for them? And I found myself very moved to kind of relook at the New Testament and the things that Jesus in particular said about himself and about life. It was a hard process to kind of rediscover Christianity and rediscover Christ in a way that couldn't be more personal. I remember I couldn't unsee his teachings, and I couldn't unsee what he said about himself as I worked at this clinic. I remember specifically reading the Gospel of John, chapter 10, where Jesus describes himself as the Good Shepherd. And there's this very particular line that Jesus says, the Good Shepherd calls him by name. And that really hit me, I remember, because not only does Jesus just love the world, and God does love the world, but he loves you by name. And it's both this incredible thing at large, but it's also there in the middle of who you are. And I just found myself thinking, wow, this man is calling me, Karl, in 2015 in this circumstance. And it was something that I couldn't deny anymore. One day in particular, had been a really rough night the night before, and just once again hearing these stories at this clinic, and I found myself walking to the bus stop, and I think everything kind of just hit me on every front, physically, emotionally, intellectually. I both felt a sense of comfort and love, and also just joy that I had never felt before. A joy that understood there was meaning to what these people were going through, and that there was hope in life, and that there was love, despite the brokenness in their stories, and that Christ was at the center of that all. And it was it's just something that I couldn't unsee anymore, and something I still can't unsee now. And even during the hard parts of the semester, when you do feel you're failing either academically or relationally or spiritually, I can still say to myself, Karl, remember back during the summer, And remember like that and what you read and what you knew, what you came to know so clearly. And it's this whole concept of like, practice what you know in the light, even in the dark. And I think that's a lot of what it means to be a Christian, is to say that, yes, there's confusion and there's a lot of way faith is a messy and blurry thing, but despite that darkness that we all find ourselves in, there's light. And it's light that comes and goes, but it's there, and it's undeniable at times. And so, yeah, I think I feel I'm blessed that I was raised in a Christian family, and my parents and my brothers are very supportive of me, but I really wasn't my own until that day.